In Generation 5, the hidden ability was introduced, basically a way for Game Freak to give a Pokemon an extra ability, giving several as many as 3 to choose from, when previously it had been a maximum of 2. Many hidden abilities have resulted in some of the most iconic, amazing Pokemon in competitive history. Drizzle Politoed most famously, but also Speed Boost Blaziken, Poison Heal Gliscor, Magic Guard Alakazam, Regenerator on everything from the Slow Twins to Toxapex, and in more recent years, though we may be cursed by Wolf for mentioning its name, Intimidate Incineroar. Anyway, the cool thing about hidden abilities, other than their amazing potential to breathe life into a Pokemon either overlooked or down on its luck, is that it's no secret what a Pokemon's hidden ability is before its release. In fact, this builds excitement. Nobody knows when a Pokemon will be released with its hidden ability. For that matter, nobody knows if a Pokemon will be released with its hidden ability. There were several which we mentioned in this video that the player base was thrilled for / dreading that never wound up seeing the light of day. Most of those are exceptions though. You might not know when it's going to happen, but you know at some point this Pokemon is going to get this ability and it's going to be awesome. Everyone knew Landorus Incarnate would turn into a sheer force abusing special attacker at some point. It just had to wait until Black and White 2. Everyone knew Superior would eventually go from NU Pokemon to complete beast with Contrary, even if it didn't get released until not just the next generation, but Oras to boot. But of course, not every hidden ability wound up completely revolutionizing a Pokemon's playstyle, injecting new vitality into its game, or even just being a good option. Plenty of hidden abilities wound up not doing much of anything at all. So what we're exploring in this video is a mix of those, and the hidden abilities that never came to pass. Basically, one way or another, hidden abilities that didn't help. But before we start, be more comfortable this fall because this video is sponsored by MeUndies. Fall is about cooling down from summer, and whether you're watching sports or going to the gym, you need to feel comfortable down there. That's why I have MeUndies in my drawer. MeUndies is the best choice for comfort because of their micromodal fabric, especially the ball caddy. If you never thought you needed a special pouch for your parts to keep them separate, take the hundreds of 5-star reviews as your sign that this could be your new favorite boxer brief. Some of them even have a contoured pouch to make you look bigger if you catch my drift. The most comfortable underwear in the world comes in a variety of prints. I really like the desert sky and totally awesome print that I have. These designs are really nice and remind me to stay cozy as I sleep in them. There's over 10 different styles of undies ranging from boxer briefs to jock straps, and there are over 100 different colors and prints. Pick one that you like and you won't be disappointed. And of course, MeUndies is so confident that if you don't like your first pair of undies, then it's on MeUndies, free of charge. Summer is coming, so don't let it ruin your comfortability down there, and go to MeUndies.com/FSG for 20% off your first order plus free shipping. And thank you so much to MeUndies for sponsoring this video. Of all the controversial hidden abilities listed at the beginning of Generation 5, none provoked greater furor than Shadow Tag Chandelure, or Shandera as it was originally referred to before the game's North American release. Here was an outrageously broken ability on a Pokemon actually good in its own right. Previously, the ability had been limited to Wobbuffet, and it still wound up being sent to Ubers twice in as many chances, having utterly ruined OU while briefly allowed. Gen 5 had also given Shadow Tag to Gothitelle, which would of course get banned eventually, because it is now widely accepted that Shadow Tag would break just about any otherwise mediocre to bad Pokemon. But people weren't freaking out about that. They were freaking out about the Pokemon with 145 base special attack. It would be the end of Stall, they clamored. After all, not only would Chandelure destroy Skarmory and Ferrothorn, it could set up with Substitute and Calm Mind in front of the special wall Blissey. Plus, with its insane power, it could tailor itself to take out just about anything. Spec Chandelure would utterly destroy something like Hippowdon, and with HP Ground, it could even take out specially defensive Heatran. It was going to be shed shells everywhere at the very least, and an abundance of Pursuit Tyranitar, lest Chandelure run circles around you. Oh, and it wouldn't just be Stall, of course, because it would be just as ridiculous against offense. Forget using Choice Band Close Combat ever again, unless you're fine with Chandelure setting up a sub and getting 2 KOs, or if it wasn't a subset, then just taking you out. It was a similar story for several of Chandelure's many other resistances, including those to commonly choice moves like Scizor's Bullet Punch. Additionally, with Choice Scarf, Chandelure Chandelure could take out just about anything it wanted. Just tack on HP Ice, and suddenly you had a legitimate trapper for Garchomp, Gliscor, and Dragonite. It seemed like the most foregone conclusion in the world that Chandelure was broken, and many argued that it would need to be banned immediately. Of course, no matter how obviously broken something is, there will always be those who argue the opposite. Oh, it gets 1 KO and gets pursued. Oh, it's Stealth Rock weak and struggles to switch in directly. Oh, just use Shed Shell on everything. Well, we never got to see Shadow Tag Chandelure destroy standard play, not because of an instantaneous ban, but because for some reason, perhaps knowing what a mistake they'd made, Game Freak never saw fit to release it, instead gifting Chandelure Infiltrator in Gen 6, a fine ability in its own right, but not one Chandelure really needs or wants. Thus, the debate between the two sides was never officially resolved. Though, seeing as the far less threatening Wobbuffet wasn't allowed in OU, it is severely doubtful Chandelure would have made it. But we did get to see some glimpse of Shadow Tag Chandelure though, in Gen 5's unofficial Dream World metagame, which was played before Black and White 2 and allowed everything known yet unreleased, including not just hidden abilities, but also Pokemon like Genesect and Keldeo. This metagame also had insanely broken Pokemon like Sandrush Excadrill and Speed Boost Blaziken unbanned, and even here, Chandelure was absolutely fantastic. Yes, you saw a lot of Shed Shells, and that didn't stop Scarf Chandelure from regularly picking off almost everything it wanted, enabling the daylights out of these broken terrors. Have fun losing the Excadrill once your Gliscor gets HP Iced. It doesn't matter if Chandelure gets pursued after it's already trapped a major target before. That's all it needs to do. It's why there's a zero tolerance policy for Shadow Tag as a whole, even on otherwise bad Pokemon. The ability has even garnered controversy in Ubers after all. And speaking of, Chandelure was even a major force in the Dream World Ubers metagame. These hidden abilities mirroring the original Evolutions Trio's abilities sure fed fan theories, but they really thrilled competitive players with their potential. Water-absorbed Suicune was going to be the best of them, devourer of irritating Scalds and Rain Specs Hydro Pumps alike, and was sure to have a place in OU. The other two would still likely be lower tier, but would receive major boosts to what they were doing there. Raikou's newfound ability to completely shut down one of the best moves in the metagame, Volt Switch, would be tremendous. These two have some way to revitalize themselves. Lacking as they were in direct recovery was also a major boon. Entei, on the other hand, was going all in on power. Of course, this is not to downplay the importance of Flashfire's incredible defensive utility, which would be of similar value to the immunities gained by the other two. Entei being far more capable of switching in by completely blanking powerful resisted hits was a major boon for its team's defensive integrity, but it was also fantastic and enabling opportunities for Entei to launch its powerful hits, especially since the Flashfire boost would take it from strong to ferocious. Incidentally, all three of these Pokemon would all have an interesting mirror match dynamic, given how they were immune to their own best attack. Suicune would enter a stalemate much like Pressure Suicune, except worse because the PP didn't drain as quickly and there were no Scald burns, so you better have Roar or something. Choice Raikou would have to make some awkward predictions, while other sets had much more flexibility in switching in and taking hits, though you wouldn't want to use non-Roar Raikou to take on Calm Mind Raikou, and Entei, fittingly, was the highest risk since you wouldn't want to try and switch your Entei in against your opponents, only to get Stone Edged. It would have been fascinating. OU, UU, and RU all would have been shaken up by this. Alas, we never got a chance to go walking in the wake of Suicune's Scald stuffing. We never got the chance to see Raikou raging against the bolt of Volt Switches. And we never got a chance to see David Lynch's Antelope Don't Run no more. Oh, I totally meant we never got to see Entei gouging each other with fire or whatever. All this happened not because of all-time great artists bafflingly unable to find funding, but because Game Freak mysteriously didn't release these abilities at all. But unlike Chandelure, they didn't change the abilities in Gen 6, which made people think it was just a matter of time. Again, that wound up being the case for Superior and Aura, but the beasts never got their abilities. Then in Gen 7, they all had their hidden ability changed to Inner Focus, which is far from a bad one, but nowhere close to even approaching the same level of what they were promised. Shadow Tag Chandelure is one thing, but there's no way any of these three would have been busted, so we're not sure why Game Freak held them back. We are sure that they would have provided an interesting dynamic had they not been changed. Now for a hidden ability that was released and didn't do any good at all. Of Hoenn's two pseudo-legendaries, Salamence received Moxie, an amazing ability that gave it a superb alternative to its wonderful default of Intimidate, and wound up even becoming the preferred standard over Intimidate, becoming the driving force behind Salamence's place in the tier. Metagross liked its default of Clear Body, as being Intimidate immune was great, but it would have welcomed a similarly strong alternative to give its game some new depth, especially as Generation 5 had dealt it quite the blow with the Explosion nerf nerf, and a metagame with new Pokemon generally hostile to it. It still had the potential, but could really use some help. This is what hidden abilities were for. Meta should get the Mence treatment, right? So what did it get? Light Metal. This halves Metagross's weight. While this would be nice if Metagross was regularly getting tripped up by Grass Knot or Low Kick, but it resisted the former, which was quite rare anyway, and Low Kick was non-existent. And the worst part of all, even with halved weight, Metagross was still over 600 pounds or over 272 kilograms, meaning it didn't take any less damage from those moves anyway. As soon as you hit 440.9 pounds or 200 kilograms, Grass Knot and Low Kick hit you for their max power of 120, whether you were that weight exactly or Celesteela and Cosmoem, which come in at 2,204 pounds or 999.9 kilograms. This made Light Metal a profoundly stupid, useless addition, and it wasn't even a harmless one because it took up space for Metagross to get an actually useful hidden ability. You know what would have been easy? In Gen 5, Metagross basically gets nothing, sure. But in Gen 6, they had the perfect opportunity to give the Tough Claws they gave to its Mega Evolution to its base form as well. It would have been perfectly fitting, and hardly would have made Metagross overbearing or anything close to the sort. Still, it had to deal with its poor speed after all. Now though, when it did hit the field, it would be far more capable of dishing out some serious punishment. Fair is fair. Honestly though, most decent abilities would have been a fine alternative for Metagross. It didn't need Magic Guard or anything ridiculous, just anything that isn't the complete and utter uselessness of Light Metal. At least Illuminate has the decency to tell you it has no competitive value. Light Metal tricks you, even if just for half a second, into thinking there might be something worthwhile here, and then you feel silly, making it actively mendacious on the part of Game Freak. There are so many bad Pokemon effectively passed over by hidden abilities bestowed upon them by Game Freak, but for this slot we went with Luxray because it felt particularly egregious. Yes, not every hidden ability is going to be Drizzle lifting Politoed from NU to consideration for Ubers, but there has to be some attempt. For comparison's sake, even the complete junk that is Mighty Yina got Moxie. Now, we're not saying that Moxie in particular would be Luxray's salvation, but you have to give it something better to work with. But wait, you say, since when is Guts a bad ability? It isn't, not at all. On Pokemon that are much better equipped for the competitive scene than Luxray anyway. Fighting types Ursaring, Swallow, they've got the moves and the stats to make it work. Yes, Luxray's got great attack, so boosting it more seems nice, but if that was all that mattered, then it wouldn't be so famously bad. What is Guts going to do for a slow, frail Pokemon with awful stab, bad defensive typing, and no longevity? A strong facade and being a physical attacker unafraid of burn are wonderful traits, but are they really going to fix those issues? If you're going to just make it stronger, you have to do more than basically give it a choice band boost with flexibility, but that also cuts into its already non-existent longevity. You need to give it really stunning strength. Give it pure power and then we'll talk. Yes, it'll be slow and frail, but the power will be worth it. A choice banded pure power Luxray's Crunch, an 80 base power move, 2-hit KOs many versions of Hippowdon, Gliscor, and Landorus Therian through Intimidate. That's what you need to be doing if you want to just be making it stronger. However, even that isn't that interesting. Turning Luxray into an electric Rampardos is going to be fun and will help it find a niche in the lower tiers, but one of the best things about hidden abilities is that they help Pokemon reinvent themselves in interesting ways. Making Luxray just a better bad physical attacker isn't that. It's got to have something really good too. It's already got Intimidate, one of the best abilities possible, so you have to outdo that. Legitimately give it Magnet Pull. It fits thematically and would be a major benefit without being overbearing. Steel Trapper Luxray is practically infinitely better than Guts Abuser Luxray. You have to move heaven and earth to compensate for the fact that Luxray basically has a perpetual built-in slow start, and don't take the dumb halfway route of giving it Guts of all things. Our final example is a funny one, because Regenerator is one of the very best abilities in the game. In fact, it's so good, it is regularly the subject of passionate, screaming hatred among many of the best players in the game who decry its nigh unstoppable power to eternally reward brainless risklessness, as they so objectively put it. Regardless of your personal feelings about the ability's balance or lack thereof, Regenerator's power is undeniable, launching many a Pokemon to elite status, with many different team styles stacking Regenerators, ranking among the most consistent and difficult to beat. beat. So it is hilarious to see Reuniclus, a good Pokemon before you even factor in abilities, receive Regenerator and almost never use it, at least not until Gens 8 and 9, and even then it's a secondary option. Make no mistake, Regenerator Reuniclus is a great Pokemon. Its good defensive typing and great bulk is bolstered not just by Recover's reliable healing, but by Regenerator helping it even further. In other circumstances, it would be just as happy to spam the ability till the Soul Rock comes up, just as Tangrowth, Tornadus, Therian, and Toxapex do. The thing is that Regenerator was given as a hidden ability to a Pokemon that already had one of the few abilities that are even better. Yep, Magic Guard, an ability so elite it tends to break more Pokemon that have it than not. Regenerator is great for healing off damage taken, yes, but Magic Guard prevents you from taking a great deal of that damage in the first place. The passive damage that flies around absolutely everywhere, which lets you stay incredibly healthy to take hits. It's why Clefable always seems to wall everything despite not actually being that bulky. Reuniclus is the same, except it loves taking over the battle with one of the scariest Calm Mind sets in the game. Now, Regen Reuniclus does have use. It was briefly experimented with on an Assault Vest set on a team of 6 Regenerators in Gen 7 OU, which actually had some success despite featuring Corsola as the requisite Stealth Rocker because Regenerator is just that good. But it didn't take off until Gen 8 RU, where it established itself as an excellent standard, playing much like something like Galarian Slowking in OU, except its future sights were much stronger, and it also packed knockoff. In Gen 9 RU, Regen Reuniclus returns and uses heavy-duty boots as a kind of substitute Magic Guard to ignore hazards while freeing itself for even greater longevity, and running the recover that it can't on Assault Vest sets, as well as getting to wield Thunder Wave. And great as these sets are, and they are very solid, Magic Guard is still Reuniclus's go-to, because it is just that insanely powerful an ability. However, in Gen 9 NU, Regenerator Reuniclus has finally triumphed, with the Assault Vest set now becoming preferred to Calm Mind Magic Guard. Still, this was more than a decade in the making. You don't usually see a Pokemon receive such an incredible ability and basically say, nah, I'm good. I'll stick with my even more insane ability that people want to ban even more. And that's it. There are so many more hidden abilities that this kind of video could easily go on forever. However, for this particular subject, we like our choices. Well, let us know if you do too. Whether you agree, disagree, or something in between, tell us what you would have mentioned in this category, or what other kind of hidden ability related videos you'd like to see in the future. Most broken hidden abilities is the obvious fun one, Moody, Bidoof, and Bibarel, the stars of the show at last. Certainly the opposite of what we got here. We are thankful though that we never had to traverse the mess that would be arguing over Shadow Tagged Chandelure, as its release during Gen 5 or 6 came before we universally agreed that the ability had to be destroyed on sight. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content. And thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And thank you so much to our Platinum patrons. Thank you to Alex Sable, Anthony Belval Renault, Bingleton, Daniel Isbeast, Dr. Mint, Funky, Glitcherton, Gustavo, Hal, Nurse Jake, Jack G, Lord of the Rabbit, Pretzel SP, Raven Daytona Ring, Ray Ray, Skylaria, Soros and Croxon, Shiwei Miji, Stoneface Colin, and Quetzalcoatl Northropi for their major support of our videos. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.